I was invited by Nuri to speak to you guys today in reference to grief. What can I say? Reliving and recounting the day that my son was killed, I will say murdered, is not something that I enjoy doing. It's become bearable now where I don't cry about it again because I was at a place where I wasn't even able to talk about him or say his name without tearing up and, having to just take a break. Many of you may be familiar with his name. His name was Tyler Savary. I will just give you a brief summary of who he was. Tyler was born with 7 pounds, 6 ounces. And I remember the day that he was born. I was so afraid because I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, I had to bring all these small human being into this world. Now I have to take care of he, and now I have to be this perfect role model to him because I grew up in a home where I didn't have any love. My dad, he chose to walk away and abandon us and leaving my mom just alone to take care of us. And it was hard for her because she didn't have a job. She wasn't educated. So she did what she had to do to ensure that we were basically just able to get by. Years of going through abuse emotionally, physically, sexually. It was rough for me. And so now, as a young adult, when I got pregnant with my son, my first instinct was take care of your baby because this is now your responsibility. My mom did not want me to have my son because she thought that having Tyler would have taken from her financially because I've always been a go-getter. That was me. And so I used to take pride in achieving and always wanting to excel more in everything that I did. We didn't have money for us to go to school. So my mom, she had a sister after me. And that child was given up for adoption. And luckily, she was adopted by a very wealthy family. And that family helped to put me through school. So finishing high school, going to university at Belize, I decided that I would be an attorney. I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to defend children. And so that was where I decided I will go and do my studies. But life happened, and I didn't finish. But I got pregnant and I decided to make that decision to take care of my family. I got the opportunity to spend 7 years with my son, and it was the best 7 years of my life, I will tell you. I watched him come out, being a little baby full of energy, into a little toddler running around the house, climbing, chewing stuff, throwing down everything, It was really a blessing to have him in my life. And Tyler and I had a very close relationship because Tyler's dad was like a lot of, maybe some of you guys right now, his dad was somebody who was what we call one womanizer, one gallus. Yes, my baby para me that. He enjoyed hanging out with other women except me, for whatever reason it was. And so I had years of going through that and having to have low self-esteem. And so the only person that I could have held on to was my son, thinking he's the only person in the world that would love me and not ever turn his back on me like other people did. And so every day, I used to look at him and ensure that I tell him how much I loved him every single day. Because I knew that growing up without love, without that assurance of love, was very hard. Like, I wanted my mom, even up to now, I want her to say, I love you. I want her to share with me how she feels towards me, but it's just not there. And I said, I don't want to give my son that same feeling. So every day I assured him how much I loved him. And I'm thankful that I did that. At age 4, Tyler and I had to face some actually he just turned 5. We had to face the passing of his dad. His dad was shot and killed senselessly because of the area that he lived and the area that he hung out. His name was Savary. He was shot and killed on Gabriel Lane along with his cousin John and 2 other guys. It's strange because the 2 persons that died from that shooting were persons that were really, I would say, innocent when it comes to the street life. They never one day pick up a gun. They never one day point it out at nobody. They never one day attack nobody. They never one day jump on a man. They never ever did that. But they were the one that lost their lives in that incident. Now imagine me. I have to explain to this 4-year-old, well, just turned 5, your daddy will never come home ever again. He went to see his dad, and the last time he saw his dad was when his dad was in a wheelchair. He was in the ICU. And Leon was blind. He went blind because he had other complications due to the gunshot. And he wasn't able to see Tyler. So what he did was, when we brought Tyler to him, he had to run his hand over Tyler's face, just so that he could know that that is my baby. I don't know about you guys, but just me recounting that, it's emotional for me because this was a man that provided for his family. I mean, good or bad, we went through ups and downs, but he provided. And so when I saw that, I said, how could this happen where this person, innocent to gang violence, innocent to the gang banging, innocent to that lifestyle, why should he suffer the way he was? A couple of days after that, maybe a week or so, he passed. Every day, Tyler was asking, when will my daddy come home? When will I see my dad again? The night his dad died, it was October 27, 2014. I went home and I said, all I could think about was how I want to explain to my baby that his dad would have never ever walked through that front door ever again. When I did, for some reason or not, I will be honest, I think my son was a bit more mature for his age. Because at age 5, he responded like a 10-year-old, maybe an 11-year-old when I said, you remember when you went to hospital and you saw daddy and he was sick? And he was like, yes. I said, okay, well, daddy isn't coming back home. Of course he cried, but his first reaction was, Mommy, don't cry. Imagine, 7 and it's 5, sorry, and that was his response. And we went 2 years with just us trying to gather ourselves and live as we know was the real and the new norm for us. I became a single mom. I dated, of course, but for whatever reason, it just never did work out. Now, the day when my son went to school, this Friday that he was killed, every Friday, I take my son to have tacos and juice at Mr. Dave. I don't know if anybody in here buy tacos from Mr. Dave by Johnson, but if you know Mr. Dave tacos, you know Mr. Dave tacos are the bomb, right? So every Friday, that was me and Tyler's norm. I would take him to Dave and he would have $2 loan meat and 1 lime juice. That was our thing. And when I would have half day from work, I would go and surprise him at school, pick him up, and then we'd go and have a milkshake. And he enjoyed a fried chicken with fried rice from Chinaman, so that was our thing, right? So I would normally do that with him. And so it became a normal practice for him to have milkshakes on Friday. Anyways, the morning he was getting ready for school and I said, let's go, we have to go. And he was dancing that morning, and I looked at him and I said, "You're such a goof," because he was so jolly and jovial. And I said, "Let's go get ready." And, I gave him a bath, got him dressed, and we came down to the city. He had a little boy that lived up the street from us, and every so often I would give him a ride down with us. And that morning I picked that little boy up, and I went to buy tacos, and he didn't have any money, so I offered him money to buy breakfast, and we did that. Dropping off Tyler now, every morning my son would get out of the car. "Love you, mommy, bye," and he would kiss me. But as soon as they get a little older, they decide, "I want to kiss you in front of people." And imagine he was 7, but he felt like, I don't kiss you in front of nobody, make people say I kiss you up. So he rushed out of the car. By the time I turned around to say, "I love you," he already, he was out of sight. And I shook my head and I said, "This little boy." So I watched him run into the school compound, and I drove off and said, "I'll see him later." Later never did come. Well, I would say later came, but my son was dead when I saw him. I went to work, normal, and for the entire day I felt bothered. I could not understand what I was feeling. By the way, I was just starting my walk with God when all of this happened. I felt in my stomach, right in this area, I felt like somebody was squeezing me the entire day, and I said to my coworker, "What is happening? What, something is wrong with me." And she's like, "Maybe you need to go to a doctor. Maybe, you go through that thing." And I said to her, "No, it's not that." And she's like, "Well, something is wrong." I said, "But I don't know what it is." Around 3:30, I saw my ex calling my phone. No, I don't know about right? But normally when I decide I want to end my relationship, I don't really want to hear from a person. I really don't. And I saw him calling my phone, and I'm like, "Gosh, what does he want?" And the phone rang, and I left it on my desk. I watched it, and it just continued to ring, and he called back again. I left it there, and I was like, "Ah." And then I saw it ringing a third time. That was when I knew something was wrong. And so I answered, and I said, "Yes." And he said, "Where is your son?" I said, "He's at Gran." And he said, "Are you sure? Check on him." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Just call and check on him." And I said, "Okay." But I remember that that Tyler's grandpa was supposed to pick him up. And he did not, because I had asked my boyfriend to pick him up. And so that was what happened. So I said, "Well, as far as I know, Tyler is at Grand." So he said, "Just check." And so I called the house, and nobody was answering the phone. Now you could imagine how I was feeling. Now this boy, call me and they tell me check for my baby. I said, "Okay, something wrong. Well, maybe, just nobody did at the phone." He called back again. In less than 2 minutes, he called back. "Did you contact them?" I said, "Nobody's answering the phone." He said, "Shakera, you need to check on your son. If not, then you need to go to the hospital." So I said, "Why should I go to the hospital?" And so he said, "Something happened with Tyler." He said, "There was a shooting just now, and you need to go to the hospital." And I said, "No." He's like, "Shakera, you need to go." I did not believe, and I think anybody in here would not believe a 7-year-old being shot. So I sat at my desk maybe 30 seconds more, and I called back his grandmother, and I said, "Please, somebody answer." I was praying. I said, "God, please make somebody answer," and somebody did. And when the person did, I heard crying in the background. And it wasn't crying as in little whimpers. I mean, bawling in the background. I collapsed right at my desk because I knew that something was wrong. And the person on the phone said, "Tyler was shot. He was on the bike with Portia going to buy a milkshake at Moon Clusters, and somebody rode up in a car and shot them." And guys, I won't lie, I felt hopeless at that very moment. All that could run through my head was, "You did a work and your picnic need you?" That was what I was thinking, right? So I started to cry, and my boss said, "What's wrong?" I said, "Just please take me to the hospital." And I said, there was an accident with Tyler. Now, going to the hospital, everything that was going through my mind was, how am I to tell his grandfather that Tyler was shot? I'm thinking, no, maybe that wali hand graze, foot graze, something, because I'm thinking, hey, this is a 7-year-old who would want to, like, just intentionally kill him. So I was thinking, okay, well, it's just maybe a graze. All I was thinking, okay, I will have to nurse him. I will have to take time from work. I would have to do something like that to ensure that he is taken care of. That was what was on my mind. I did not think that I would have gone to see a lifeless body. I reached to the hospital and I saw Miss Diane Finnegan in the waiting room. And I did not know that lady. And so she came towards me and she's like, "Are you Tyler's mom?" I said, "Yes, I am." And I said, "Where is Tyler?" And she said, "He's in the trauma area. They're working on him and Portia. They're both inside." And so she said, "Just sit and wait." I don't know about you guys, but I think if that hospital, if the amount of time I paced that ground, I could have bore a hole, I probably may end up way down in the bottom of the hospital. Because I could not sit down, and in less than maybe 5 minutes of waiting, I saw a doctor come out and she asked for the boy's family, and I stood up. And she said, "Can we see you?" And she took me in a little room. I don't know who I have ever been to the KHMH where they have the little room where you go and see the doctor and tell them what happened to you in the emergency area. That was the room they took me in. And a police walked behind me. So now seeing this police behind me, I was like, okay. So I walked in the room and the doctor said to me, "Ma'am, I'm sorry, we tried our best, but your son did not make it." Now me and my son had plans. I had plans with him. We were just discussing that, and that very day, I was downstairs in the store picking out my son's Christmas gift because he told me he wanted a cell phone and he wanted a smartphone because he wanted to download Tango and the next app there where he could video call. And so I was thinking, okay, I'll get him something that, is user-friendly, kind of easy, since he already had a tablet. I did not know that my son would have been dead. When the doctor told me that, every energy that was in my body left. Me and the ground became friends at that very moment because I stayed on that ground, and I did not cry, guys. I screamed. And the police beside me, they tried to pick me up. I don't remember who, but somebody tried, and the person leaned over and said, "Come." And the police said to him, or the person, he said, "No, leave her." And I scream until I felt a bit of relief. And then I said to him, "I don't want anybody to touch me." I got up and I asked them, "Can I see my son?" I'm going to go into details now of what I experienced in that room. I went into the trauma room. By then, they already had a sheet over him. So I saw my son on this bed, and I was like, "I know you're playing games." And we enjoyed a nice, game and pretend. And so I went in that room crying, and I started to shake my son. And I said, "Wake up. It's time to wake up. We're no longer playing." And my son did not move. And I shake on. No lie, I shake on. Until I realized, the dream girl, this stuff for real. This stuff for real. And I started to cry over my son. On his chest, they had several wires. I don't know, I think they were connected to a machine, but they had a lot of wires connected on him. And I started to remove them because, no, this is a maternal instinct. I did think, I have to protect my son. So I started to move the wires, and the doctors were looking at me not knowing how to respond, because here's a woman now trying to fix her son, try bringing her son back to life, when you know what happened? All I saw was my son lying there lifeless with blood stains on his mouth in this area, and his teeth was stained with blood. When I realized that my son was not waking up, I left him there and I said, I don't want to see it. I walked outside and all I could think about was, how will I now tell his grandfather? The only piece of his son that was left is now dead. I walked through the corridor and I saw him outside and I just shook my head and I said, he didn't make it. Now, who in a big man and ball? Be honest, on a ball. That was my son's grandfather that afternoon. This 53-year-old man, ball like a baby. He literally did not hold anything back. He cried. Because Tyler was the joy that we were holding on to after Leon's death. I spent about 3 hours outside KHMH parking lot. You know, when you just walk in by the fence apart, the emergency entrance is, I sat outside in the parking lot on the ground, as contented as I could be. And I realized that as time went by, the crowd grew larger. Everybody come. And not a soul can sit down and talk to me, because I don't think that I was in any talking mood then. I was still trying to accept that my son was killed. Now, in my mind, all I did think about that, I will kill who do this. That was all I was thinking about. I want to find them, their ma, their pa, their granny, their grandpa, the dog, cat, and rat in their yard. That was what I was thinking about, and I'm going to be very honest. Yes, I was a believer, new in my walk with God, but that was the place that that incident had me. I became bitter and angry in that instance, where I think if the wrong person would have come that evening and said the wrong thing to me, I probably may be a murderer. Because I may have beaten or did something just out of anger, just out of what I was feeling then. The only person that was able to console me was my pastor. Because I had a level of respect and love for him at that time. He came all the way from Boom, where he was, when he heard what happened, and he came and he prayed for me, and I was crying, but he was praying, and I was crying, and then he was still praying, and in my mind, I'm like, you did pray for me, you did pray for me. I don't want nobody to pray for me right now. So finally, I asked them to please allow me to go back to see my son after they had finished cleaning up the blood and everything. And guys, when I went into the room, they had him at the back in a separate bed, curtains around him, and his mouth was slightly opened, so they had to tie a bandage or something around his head to keep his mouth closed. I was still able to see the bloodstains on my son's teeth. I am one of those parents that I big pan take care of your mouth and your teeth, right? I don't know if one of them grew up for them, I used to beat them for brushing the teeth, but I was one of those moms. I was on my son, ensuring he kept his teeth clean. And so, looking at his teeth, even though his mouth was closed, his lips was slightly parted. And I saw the blood stains still. And so I kept asking, who will clean his teeth? Who will clean his teeth? No. I had a younger brother at that time. He said, sis, I need to go see my little boy. And I said, let's go. So me, him, and my mom, and I think somebody else went in at the same time to see Tyler for the last time before he was taken to the morgue. I've never seen it, right? I've never seen my brother in that state. And he was also somebody he was into the street life, right? So he cried and he screamed and he shook my son and he said, "Wake up, Papa, wake up, Uncle Dea, wake up." My son did not wake up. And at that very moment, I knew my brother was not the same. Because I saw a rage develop in him at that moment, and he said, "I want to make them pay for this." And it be real, how much have we reached that place apart? We say for we brother dead, my sister dead, your mother dead, your cousin, your belly, and you realize, I want to make them pay for this. That was how he felt, and I will not lie, I was in agreement to what he was saying, because in my mind, I do not deserve to live for don't want baby this. And as I left, I kissed my son and I said, "Please, I need to bring something warm for him because he will be cold in the freezer." The nurse, I think, could not compose herself and she started to cry. It wasn't because she was weak, but she saw a mother still trying to protect her son. And I'm thinking, we know what dead body no feel nothing. We all know that. But because I loved him so much, I thought, my son was cold in this place. How he want to take that? He need to stay warm, or need to wrap up and go, you need to. And so I insisted that we go home and bring back warm clothes for him. The doctor said, "Mom, you're not thinking right. He will be fine." And so they said, "You need to go home and rest." I never want to go rest, go. Who sleep? Who sleep when you just gone through something like that? I don't understand. So I tell the doctor, I said, "I'm good. I good. Stay right here." And my family started to push me, "Please go home, please go home, please go home." I agreed, and they later asked me to please take something so that I would be able to sleep. I took a sedative, so the doctor said it was. They gave me one injection and said, "You could go home and rest." Guys, I did not sleep that night. I stayed up wide awake. Just to think. If I go sleep, then my son wanted it by himself. And then if I go sleep, then he can't sleep. How he was sleep? He was afraid. This is what that did. Immediate trauma, boom. Immediate trauma kicked in on me at that very moment that I was not able to sleep. Finally, I decided I'll just go and lie down. I slept maybe for half an hour, woke up again. And when I woke up crying, because now I looked over and I'm not seeing my son. So I'm thinking, okay, it is real, it's not a dream. I was not able to go home for a week, baby, a little over a week. I was afraid to face reality. I was afraid to go back to where I called home, and my son was not there with me. So I stayed over at a cousin's house for over a week. It took me 3 days before I took a bath. 3 days. It took me 3 days before I actually had something to eat. It took me 3 days before I could even drink water, before I could even put anything to my mouth without feeling guilty that I am enjoying life. Imagine just water. That every day you have to drink water to survive. But I could not bring myself to that place to drink the water, because I'm thinking, if I drink this water, my son ain't dead. He not drink no water. He not eat no food. He not sleep. He not do nothing what I could do. So if I do it, then I feel like I betray him. That was how I felt. And guys, sometimes we don't realize, right? From what I hear from the streets after that, oh, it was an accident, and I never mean to do it. And I said, I don't want to hear it was an accident. No call tell me sorry. Because at the end of the day, my son, 7 years old, very bright student, he kept an average between 96 to 98. Very bright student was taken away. My son had the ability to read books, and when I'm saying books that adults would read, that was because I took the time to teach him. He was able to do math. He was very good at it. I took the time to teach him. And all of that, every opportunity that we were thinking to expose him to was taken away from him in that very moment. And on top of it, the following day, I think, or maybe the day after, we were told that they would do a post-mortem on the body. So I went to the morgue. His grandfather had to go in and ID the body because I did not want to. I honestly think that I may want to snatch somebody. So I said, listen, just, please go. I sat outside the morgue waiting for this post-mortem to be conducted, and somebody came and showed me a picture of my son lying dead on the ground. Some bystander decided, oh, I'll just casually take a picture of a little young dead boy on the street. And somebody showed me the picture. That picture up to today still is in my head and cannot come out. It cannot come out because that was a reality for me. And he was still in his uniform pants, still in his undershirt, still in his tennis that he went to school in that day. And I sat outside, and when the doctor came out, they gave us the little paper thingy, and then they said, you go to the area and you get the copy of the cause of death, whatever. We took it and we went. It was until that third day I decided to speak to the media. Some of you may remember what I said when I said that some of the mothers, some of the women know the type of men that they have, and they choose to not influence them in a positive way. How many of you here have girlfriends, you have wife, you have moms, and sometimes you know that you make a bad choice, and sometimes they encourage it. I've seen numerous times since then to now where our women are the ones on the TV making a whole lot of noise, and they're standing behind men who willfully snuff away people's lives from them. I don't know Bono, but if I was one of those women, I would be very ashamed. I would be very much ashamed. But because of the woman God has me now, I've learned to love everybody the same way. I learned to forgive. I've learned to let go and let God. I learned that it's not my will, but it's His will. And my prayer to God was, I said, Lord, as you are, let me live to see those people be brought to justice. I said, because I know, I'm just God. And that was then people started to encourage me. I had to take counseling, by the way. I took counseling, and it's not because, at first I felt I didn't need the counseling. And I was like, well, me good. I don't need no counseling. I just want to cry when I'm ready. That's how I was feeling. And when I started the counseling session, guys, I will tell you this. The ugly bitter part of me come out where these sessions exposed areas of my life where I was wounded so badly, but I was not able to express how I felt until I started to go through those sessions. And coming out of the sessions, I was changed because it allowed me to confront certain things in my life that I was not willing to accept. I had anger, I had rage, I had bitterness, I had revenge in my heart, I had all of that. Yet my flesh, they say one thing, deep down inside of me, if they can't tell me they're dead, I said, but praise God. At that time, of course. Now, fast forward. I opened the Tyler Savary Foundation after Tyler's death. It was 3 months after we registered the foundation, and we've been actively going out, doing outreaches to mostly children and women who have suffered gun violence. It's a trauma that I wish on nobody. It's a pain and I wish on nobody, I'm telling you. And I know some of you guys in here, you've had loss where you become so angry that you see nothing else but blood. You see nothing else but violence. You see nothing else but revenge. You see nothing else but hate. But guys, we have the ability to control how we react. I could have reacted. I could have made them kill every man, woman, and a child, and pets and pests. But I said no. I said no. I could have do it myself. Actually, lay down and think about it. Like, I'm going to find out where they hang out. And then I'm going to be their friend. Or maybe their friend. And then I will find out information. And then I will kill them myself. Put one right between their eye. That was how I was. And it was because of anger. The rage that came upon me because of my loss was not something I am proud of, but it's a reality that I always share. Guys, we have the ability to choose which path we want to take. I could have taken that path and become a vigilante on my own. But would that bring Tyler back? No. Would it change anything? No. I will just be adding to the cycle. And so I said, if I'm not a part of the solution, then I'm a part of the what? Problem. And I refuse, as a child of God, to be a part of the problem. So I said, God, let's do this. And so we went forward with the registration of the foundation. We went forward with that, and now I've established myself, thanks to God, that people look up to me now and say, she's a strong woman, she's a woman of God. The young man that was arrested and charged for my son's murder was in prison. Some of you may know him, some of you may not know him. The day before trial, he called me. I was at home and I was thinking, what am I going to do? How will I react when I see him? Because it's at the moment of truth. And he said to me, Miss Shakera, I am sorry. I am sorry for everything that I did or participated in that brought you pain, that caused you to lose your son. I am sorry. Everything inside of me wanted to react, because we're humans. As much as I'm a Christian, I'm a human, I have flesh. And so, silently within, I said, God, help me. And I said to him, it's okay, I forgive you. And he started to cry and he said, I'm sorry. And I said, it's okay. And he said, I need to talk to you. I said, they will not allow you to speak to me. And I wasn't sure that I wanted to speak to him face to face. But I knew there and then that I had to release him and forgive him. And just allowed God to do what he needed to do. And so, the morning I went to the courthouse and we sat in the trial, and the end result was he was released. I cried because I said, this is no justice. The justice system failed me just like it failed every other person, I'm sure. Belize have a conviction rate of 3%. Imagine that, 3%. And I said, okay, Dad. I said, God, not my will, but your will. You know why you choose to give this young man another chance at life. You know why you allow the judge to say that witness there not credible. You know why you allow everything. But was I hurting? Yes. Was I angry? Yes. Did I feel that the system cheated me and that they failed? Yes. And I was very verbal about it. But at the end of the day, I said, Father, let your will be done and not my one. Because if God could have found it within himself, if God could forgive this young man for what he do, who am I to say I can't forgive him? Me that just flesh, dirt. So I said, God, teach me how to do this thing, man. So I forgave him and I said there and then, that's it, I released that to God. It was months after, I think about maybe 4 months after I met him. And that was my prayer. I said, God, allow me the opportunity to meet him. Because that was my heart's desire, to meet him and to let him know that I sincerely forgive him and that I just wanted the best for him. I wanted him to change his life. Even though I don't know if he did it, if he did not do it, I really did not care at that point. All I know was, 1, you were involved. 2, God forgive you, so I don't forgive you, so I know even going back down the lane with you. And when I met him, all I did was I hugged him, and by the way, I met him the day after my son's 10th birthday. I said to him, my son would have been 10 years old yesterday. And he looked at me. And I said, because of you and your friends, I was not able to experience that. I wasn't able to know what Tyler would have wanted for his birthday, or listen to him saying, Mommy, I want this, or Mommy, I want that, or being his extravagant self, because my son was really extra. I didn't have that. But I sincerely loved him, and I sincerely wanted that young man to change. And I said to him, please stay out of trouble. Please change your life. Please do what is good. I said, and one of these times I will come and invite you to church with me. And he said, okay, Miss Shakera, no problem. I believe that God allowed that because I had to heal. I had to heal, and he had to show me that I was healed. Because if I was not healed, I would have reacted. I would have reacted, and trust me, never may I be nice. But I sincerely forgive him. And so now for some of you guys, you might find it strange where, how this woman could forgive something like that? Your only child. You can't forgive things like that. Some would think so. But it's possible. And I'm a living testimony that it's possible. It wasn't easy. It took time. God had to probably pull at me sometimes. But it happened. And every single person that was involved, I've already surrendered over to God. And I said, Lord, they are yours. Because at the end of the day, you wait 26 years for me make I become saved. So you could wait for them too. And you still want to wait for them. And you still want to wait for them some more. I'm a last. I'm one of the sheep that were last. And I come back home and I said, my prayer is that they come back home to you. And it no matter what they do. Because I don't want to judge none of them. Everybody make mistakes. But after realizing you've made that mistake, what do you do? Do you make that choice to change, or do you continue to be a part of the problem and not a part of the solution? It's a simple thing. It's a choice. Imagine now, as I wrap up, I had, after being through a childhood of hell, I had the opportunity to have stability where I had a family, I had a home, I had everything that I wanted. Even though it wasn't perfect, I had it. And within 2 years, everything was ripped away from me. Then I may drive some people nuts, correct? You may a trip. When I lost Tyler's dad, I started drinking, and I don't tell you about casual drinking either. I literally started, I wild out because I was not able to handle the emotion. I grew up without a dad. No, this man was the man that I loved for years and I held on to for years, regardless of how flawed he was. And just like that, he was taken away innocently. And then my son, after losing him, I held on to. Tyler was all I had left of him. And he was what I was holding on to. And boom, he was taken away innocently as well. Can I get a bad deck of cards, not true? But God still turned it around. And so, me sitting here with you guys today is to tell you that grief comes with its own experiences, it comes with its own season, it comes with its own trials and tribulations. It brings out emotions in you. And like I was explaining to Brother Nuri earlier, my family was torn apart because my brother, remember telling about Boise, he's now in prison. He started to wild out violently after my son's death. He decided that I just going to do what I feel like out there because that was his way of finding comfort or some sort of release. And he got in so many fights. He just started ride wrong, literal, and I'm telling you the real. He's just started ride wrong and rob people. Just rob them. Punch them up, beat them. Just randomly rob people. And every minute police they come at my house and I wonder what happened to he. And it was long after I realized that he was grieving his nephew in the way he knew how to grieve. He lash out and he get violent. My other brother, the older one, he's now in the hospital. He's in the hospital right now. But he too, he developed a different level of rage. He even got into fight with people from the neighborhood that they said those people were responsible for my son. He got in a big fight with them and get shot in a foot, all kind of thing. My family was torn apart from then. Me and my mom did not have a good relationship because my mom started to grieve, I grieved, and we both became so distant from each other. I even tried to commit suicide twice. Yes, and I'm here today because of the grace of God. But I'm sharing this with you so you could understand that when you pull a trigger, there's no turning back after that. My sister told me a couple weeks ago that she spoke to a friend of hers who knows the persons that were responsible for my son's murder. And she said, Shakera, I feel sorry for you. And I said, why? He said, because the person kept crying and saying that it was an accident. It was an accident. They never mean it. They never mean it. I will say this. The gun snapped when the persons went to shoot somebody before they reached Tyler and Portion. Snap into the person's head back. Little up more fun, they then drive and then they meet my son and Portion. And that was when the gun went off. I've come to realize and accept that that was the will of God. And even if it wasn't the will of God, God allowed it for a reason. God allowed it so that I could be here with you guys today. I did not see the end. But all I was seeing then was, why my son? And now I sit here asking, why not my son? If God had asked me to sacrifice my son, I would have said no. I would have said no because I loved him so much. But do I regret doing what I do now? No, I don't. I really don't. I love what I do. I love the person that I've become. I'm a better person now than I ever was then. Back then I was selfish. I never worry about myself and my picnic. Now, I worry about every single person except myself. and I'm being honest. I worry about every person in here, every person out there. When I see one mother cry on TV, I grieve with she because I know how she feels. I have a group of moms that I am in a group with, and the stories that some of them they mention of losing their kids. I remember one tell we said for she's son, she the whole up her head and blood just the country mouth, blood. They say and whole of your blood if I think they either stab her or shoot her, but she says she the watch him and I just the roll up and he just the cough up and alone blood. They say and she the ball, they try to turn his son up on the side and everybody stand up wrong her, they watch her. They say and she tell her help, and nobody know the help. Everybody just the watch she, the hold her son, they take a last breath in her hand. Every time this lady relives that, whenever his son's birthday come up, whenever the anniversary of his son's death come up, whenever Christmas come up, whenever any special occasion come up, she relives this and he cry. He cry every time. He said, "A chance, my son." At some point, we have to realize that there's a better plan for us. And it's not to be a murderer. It's not to be a statistic. There's a predestined purpose for each and every one of us here. I did not understand mine at first because all I saw was the pain. All I missed at the pain. Now, I could say I have joy knowing that I'm living out the plan of God for my life. And God has restored everything that was broken in me. I'm now married. God blessed me with an awesome man of God, and he's at the back sitting. We are hoping that sometime soon we have babies. But we're not rushing that because we understand that there's work to do. There are people out here that needs help, and there's people out here that needs to hear what I have to say. And so I'm telling you guys, don't let grief overcome you. It's an emotion, and it's one that don't last forever. How you react to it is your choice. You be a part of the problem or a part of the solution. When you pick up a gun, when you decide, I going after this one or I going after that one, then not just that person you hurt the whole family. You hurt the whole family. Because of that one instance and that incident, my life get changed. Praise God. I know God and I know Jesus. Praise God for that. But for the family members that don't, right now, they're in positions where they don't even think they're going to be there. One day at jail, one day in a hospital now. Thank God my sister is now coming around, but my mom, she's changed so bad. And it's something that you would never understand unless you live it. Start to love each other, appreciate life, and know that you never make for be no bad man. Being a bad man is a choice. It's a choice. You choose the path that you want to take, and I applaud every one of you that are here today because it's showing that you want a change. You want something different in your life. And it's never too late to start making that change. I said God waited for me 26 years for me to give my life to him. 26. And I wild out for about 16. So, yeah. He wait for me. Now, I get to meet different people every day. And when I meet different kids and we do events and activities with them, we get to influence their lives. Understand that the generation coming behind you are looking up to you guys. And if you know that there's nothing positive for show them how to be, then what they want to do? They want to look upon you. And they want to follow your example. And then what happen? If you're not part of the problem, you're a part of the solution. If they're not part of the problem, they'll be part of the solution. Your actions influence them.
I may get shot. Everybody's supposed to know that. Not by my mistake to say it too. So I still not forgive the person who shot me, but I still try. I get shot in my face though. In my hand, in my face. I still think even for the person if I want to get shot. Even the police they tell me, boy, you sure you know where to deal, but you look like you're into do what you want to do. I say, what? I left it to God, man, or God a him. Right? I would have made the man to say to shot me and then I the same thing too. Right? But I need a lot of encouragement to do that. Thanks, guys.
And I like you, since I heard every day. And I like that time, but to see me to my right hand. Well, I just need it in sense. I will appreciate you because open up and we understand what you gone through, because all of we gone through it. You get a sense of how we feel. Right now I still feel that man's a lately. You get a sense of somebody I love. You get a sense of we feel that. We can't do like that, get a sense, but I appreciate it because share it with and we understand what you're going through. Similar thing when you're going through at the face. Get a sense, kind of kill one world where with my son there, you get a sense. But my son not there. I appreciate life for me. But I can't live with that. And I what I'm going to be breadwinner. I'm a family man. Yes, he take care of everybody. Like I don't want to stretch for this again, sense kind of bring my anger to me in a sense, but I appreciate that. But you look for me to have a sense to be open up one thing.
She's an amazing lady. Before I decided to get on my knees, I knew I was taking on a lot. Rejected from she was small. Abused. I don't know if she talked about all of that. By her own dad. All of that just to get her, the man she was living with dead and her son then dead. Then I'm saying, how, God, am I supposed to deal with all of that? And I'm one person. At first I was jealous because all I heard out of her name was Leon, Leon, Tyler, Tyler, Leon, Leon, Tyler, Tyler. The man who she loved with everything, even though it made a bad part, she every second. So I didn't know how to compete with her beloved son and the man who she totally saw as the only one. Although they were dead. And then even up to a month ago, up to 2 months ago, husband, I had a dream. Husband, I had a dream. I saw Tyler, I saw Tyler, I saw Tyler, I saw Leon. So I'm constantly hearing it. So it's not like forgiven and forgotten. They will always be in her heart. And I, the husband, have to understand that. You understand? We men, we want to be the only one, or, you know? You understand? We know how we go. But I have to, although they're dead, the reality is still there. Whenever that time come around for his birthday, whenever that time come around when he got shot, she always drops. Every single time. And I have to say, I know she forgave. She even hugged the man and all of that. But it still lingers. So I just want to encourage you, because I sense a lot of emotion in the room. Lot. That anger, that bitterness, that, you know, you start to get ticked inside. But what do you do with it? That's my only challenge I'll leave with you. What you do with it? She used it to have the Tyler Savary Foundation. She used it to have a platform right now to speak. I speak also. We tag team. I come from a little good side, she comes from the rough upbringing, and when we meet together, we cover everybody. But I accepted Jesus when I was 8.5. And from then, God kept me. And he did, not my own strength. To the point where, if I was supposed to marry somebody, I should have been a virgin, because I was a virgin up till 6 months ago. You want me to tell a lie? I remember you too. You know me. So I don't want to take much time, but January 1st, when we cha-ching, link up, that was when I linked in for the first time. She took my virgin. She took my virginity. She did, yeah. Yeah, right? But if any of you saw me before this, you know, say I gay, and I'm punk, and I'm something else, I must be gay. This brother know me right now, and I'm not gay. I happily married to a lady, and she's all woman. She's a great woman. So I just want to say, give it to God and let Him turn it around for good. Nothing but good. That's why the devil don't like we now, because we just beat him up everywhere we go.